All right. Wait for some people to get on. I got a couple emails. I'm going to check them. It could be from some parents wondering if we're doing this today. See, I got 3 people on. Hey, Kyle. Alrighty. See, I got 6 people. All right. So, hey, Reagan. So, yesterday, if you remember, I was having all those Wi-Fi issues. Lucky me. So, I was not able to go live. I did post the reading yesterday. So, if you didn't watch it, make sure you go back and watch it, or you're going to be a little confused as to what I'm reading about today. I will tell you when I go back a little bit that he was talking about how the writers of the best work in his class will win a prize with a lunch with a famous author, and he hopes it's him. And then he spoke in his journal, and he did Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw. Remember, he does that when he writes in his journal. And he talked a lot about his dad. Excuse me. Excuse me. He talked a lot about his dad, and that he, said that he missed him, and that, his dad hasn't been around. And his mom said, that his dad just loves the feeling of riding in the truck. And his mom said, and I know that feeling because I used to ride with him until you came along. And so then Lee starts thinking, maybe I'm to blame for everything. Maybe if I had never been born, Mom might still be riding with Dad. They might be happy and together. So he's feeling some type of way. Wednesday, January 31st. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, Dad still hasn't phoned. A promise is a promise, especially when it's in writing. When the phone does ring, it's always a call from one of the women Mom works with. I am filled with wrath. I got that out of a book, but not one of yours. I am mad at my mom for divorcing Dad. As she says, it takes 2 people to get a divorce. So I am mad at 2 people. I wish Bandit was here to keep me company. Bandit and I didn't get a divorce. They did. Thursday, February 1st. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, today there was bad news in the paper. The sugar refinery is going to be shut down. Even though Dad hauls cross-country now, I keep hoping sometime he might haul a really big load of sugar beets to Spreckles. Now maybe I'll never see him again. So Lee kept hoping that his dad would drive the truck to the sugar refinery, and then he'd get to see him, but now that's closing. Friday, February 2nd. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, I am writing this because I am trapped in my room with a couple of babies sleeping in baskets on my bed. Mom has some of her women friends over. They sit around drinking coffee or tea and talking about their problems, which are mostly about men, money, kids, and landlords. Some of them piece quilts while they talk. They hope to sell them for extra money. It is better to stay in here with the babies than go out and say, hello, sure, I like school fine. Yeah, I guess I have grown and all that. Mom is right about Dad and his truck. I remember how exciting it was to ride with him and listen to calls on his Citizens Band radio. Dad pointed out how Hawk sits on the telephone wires waiting for little animals to get run over so they don't have to bother to hunt. Dad says civilization is rooting hawks. He was hauling a granola full of tomatoes that day, and he said that some tomatoes are grown specially so they are so strong that they won't squash when loaded. They may not taste like much, but they don't squash. That day, we had to stop at a weigh scale. Dad had used up enough diesel oil, so his load was just under the legal weight. And the highway patrol didn't even make him pay a fine for carrying too heavy of a load. Then we had lunch at the truck stop. Everybody seemed to know Dad. The waitresses all said, "Well, look who just rolled in, our old pal Bill, Wild Bill," and things like that. Wild Bill from Bakersfield is the name Dad used on his CB radio. When Dad said, "Meet my kid," I stood up as tall as I could so they would think I was going to grow up as big as Dad. The waitresses all laughed a lot around Dad. For lunch, we had chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes with lots of gravy, peas out of a can, and apple pie with ice cream. Our waitress gave me extra ice cream to help me grow big like Dad. Most truckers ate real fast and left, but Dad kidded around a while and played the video games. Dad always runs up a high score, no matter which machine he plays. My mom's friends are collecting their babies, so I guess I can go to bed now. Sunday, February 4th. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, I hate my father. Mom is usually home on Sunday, but this week there was a big golf tournament, which means rich people have parties, so she had to go squirt deviled crab into about 1,000,000 little cream puff shells. Mom never worries about meeting the rent when there is a big golf tournament. I was all alone in the house. It was raining, and I didn't have anything to read. I was supposed to scrub off some of the mildew on the bathroom walls with some smelly stuff, but I didn't because I was mad at Mom for divorcing Dad. I feel that way sometimes, which makes me feel awful because I know how hard she has to work and try to go to school too. I kept looking at the telephone until I couldn't stand it any longer. I picked up the receiver and I dialed Dad's number over in Bakersfield. I even remembered to dial 1 first because it was long distance. All I wanted was to hear the phone ringing in Dad's trailer, which wouldn't cost Mom anything because nobody would answer. Except Dad did answer, and I almost hung up. He wasn't off in some other state. He was in his trailer, and he hadn't phoned me. "You promised to phone me this week, and you didn't," I said. I felt like I had to talk to him. "Take it easy, kid," he said. "I just didn't get around to it. I was going to call this evening. The week isn't over yet." I thought about this. "Something on your mind?" he asked. I didn't know what to say, so I said, "My lunch. Somebody steals the good stuff out of my lunch." "Well, find him and punch him in the nose," said Dad. I could tell he didn't think my lunch was important. "I hoped you'd call," I said. I waited, and then I was sorry I said it. I have some pride left. "There was heavy snow in the mountains," he said. "I had to chain up on Highway 80 and lost time." From my math book, I know Highway 80 crosses the Sierra. I also know about putting chains on trucks. When the snow is heavy, truckers have to put chains on the drive wheels, all 8 of them. Putting chains on 8 big wheels in the snow is no fun. I felt a little bit better. "How's Bandit?" I asked, as long as we were talking. There was a funny silence. For a minute, I thought the line was dead. Then I knew something must have happened to my dog. "How's Bandit?" I asked again louder, in case Dad might have lost some of the hearing in his left ear from all that wind rushing by. "Well, kid," he began, "my name is Lee. I'm not just a kid you met on the street." "Woo, keep your shirt on, Lee," he said. When I had to stop along with some other truckers to put on chains, I let Bandit out of the cab. I thought he'd get right back in because it was snowing so hard, but after I chained up, he wasn't in the cab. "Well, did you leave the door open for him?" I asked. Big pause. "I could have sworn I did," he said, which meant he didn't. Then he said, "I whistled and whistled, but Bandit didn't come. I couldn't wait any longer because the highway patrol was talking about closing Highway 80. I couldn't get stranded up there in the mountains when I had a deadline for delivering a load of TV sets to a dealer in Denver. I had to leave. I'm sorry, kid, Lee, but that's the way it is." "So you left Bandit to freeze to death?" I am now crying in anger. How could he? Bandit knows how to take care of himself, said Dad. I'll bet dollars to donuts he jumped into another truck that was leaving. I wiped my nose on my sleeve. Why would the driver let him? I asked. Because he thought Bandit was lost, said Dad, and he had to get on with his load before the highway was closed, the same as I did. He couldn't leave a dog to freeze. Well, what about your CB radio? Did you send out a help call? Sure, I did, but I didn't get an answer. Mountains cut down on reception, Dad told me. I was about to say I understood, but here comes the bad part, the really bad part. I heard a boy's voice say, Hey, Bill, Mom wants to know when we're going out to get the pizza. I felt as if my insides were falling out. I hung up. I didn't want to hear any more. When Mom had to pay for that phone call, I didn't want to hear any more at all. To be continued. So, Lee heard a young boy ask his dad when they were going to go out and get the pizza. Monday, February 5th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, and he crossed it off at the top. I don't have to pretend to write to Mr. Henshaw anymore. I have learned what to say, I have learned to say what I think on a piece of paper. And I don't hate my father either. I can't hate him, but maybe things would be easier if I could. Yesterday, after I hung up on Dad, I flopped down on my bed and cried and swore and pounded my pillow. I felt so terrible about Bandit riding around with a strange trucker and Dad taking another boy out for pizza when I was all alone in the house with the mildew bathroom, when it was raining outside and I was hungry. The worst part of all was I knew if Dad had taken someone to a pizza place for dinner, he would not have phoned me at all, no matter what he said. He would have too much fun playing video games. Then I heard Mom's car stop out in front. I hurried and washed my face and tried to look as if I hadn't been crying, but I couldn't fool Mom. She came to the door of my room and said, Hi, Lee. I tried to look away, but she came closer in the dim light and said, What's the matter, Lee? Nothing, I said, but she knew better. She sat down and put her arm around me. I tried so hard not to cry, but I couldn't help it. Dad lost Bandit, I finally managed to say. Oh, Lee, she said, and I blubbered out the whole story, pizza and all. We just sat there a while, and then I said, Why did you have to go and marry him? Well, I was in love with him, she said. Why did you stop? I asked. We got married too young. Growing up in that little valley town with nothing but sagebrush, oil wells, jackrabbits, there wasn't much to do. I remember at night how I used to look out at the lights of Bakersfield in the distance and wish I could live in a place like that. It looked so big and exciting. It seems funny now, but then it seemed like New York or Paris. After high school, the boys mostly went to work in the oil fields or joined the army, and the girls got married. Some people went to college, but I couldn't get any of my parents interested in helping me. After high school graduation, your dad came along in a big truck, and well, that was that. He was big and handsome, and nothing seemed to bother him. The way he handled his rig, well, he seemed like a knight in shining armor. Things weren't too happy at home with your grandfather drinking and all, so your dad and I ran off to Las Vegas and we got married. And I enjoyed riding with him until you came along. And well, by that time, I had enough of highways and truck stops. I wanted to stay home with you. And then he was gone most of the time. I felt a little bit better when Mom said she was tired of life on the road. Maybe I wasn't to blame after all. I remembered, too, how Mom and I were alone a lot and how I hated living in that mobile home. About the only places we ever went were the laundromat and the library. Mom read a lot, and she used to read to me, too. She used to talk a lot about her elementary school principal, who was excited about reading. She had the whole school celebrate books and authors every April. Now, Mom went on. I didn't think playing pinball machines in a tavern on a Saturday night was fun anymore. Maybe I just grew up and your father didn't. Suddenly, Mom began to cry. I felt terrible making Mom cry. So I began to cry some more, and we both cried until she said, It's not your fault, Lee. You mustn't ever think that. Your dad has many good qualities. We just got married too young, and he loves the excitement of life on the road, and I don't. But he lost Bandit, I said. He didn't leave the cab door open for him when it was snowing. Well, maybe Bandit's just a bum, said Mom. Some dogs are, you know. Remember how he jumped into your father's cab in the first place? Maybe this time he was just ready to move on to another truck. I mean, she could be right, but I didn't like to think so. I was almost afraid to ask the next question, but I did. Mom, do you still love Dad? Please don't ask me that, she said. I didn't know what to do, so I just sat there until she wiped her eyes and blew her nose and said, Come on, Lee, let's go out. So we got in the car and drove to that fried chicken place and picked up a bucket of fried chicken. Then we drove down by the ocean and ate the chicken with the rain sliding down on the windshield and waves breaking on the rocks. There were little cartons of mashed potatoes and gravy in the bucket of chicken, but someone had forgotten the plastic forks. We scooped the potato with the chicken bones, which made us laugh a little. Mom turned on the windshield wipers, and out of the dark, we could see the white of the breakers. We opened the windows so we could hear them roll in and break, one after another. You know, said Mom, whenever I watch the waves, I always feel that no matter how bad things seem, life goes on. That's how I felt too, only I wouldn't have known how to say it. So I just said, yeah. And then we drove home. I feel a whole lot better about Mom. I'm not sure about Dad, even though, as she says, he has good qualities. I don't like to think that Bandit is a bum, but maybe Mom is right. All right. We are going to stop there. Please check your Canvas inbox for a link to a Zoom meeting. See y'all in a little bit. Bye.